And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. We just wrapped up with our first matchup of the night. We just wrapped up with Serral versus Solar, and now we have returned with Classic versus Cure. Now, just like the previous players, both Classic, Cure, alongside Serral and Solar, they have 1-1 scores. 1 win and 1 loss to their names, and this is to distinguish them to have a better score, a better chance at making it out of the group stage here, to determine who can take a lead here in the overall scoreline. Again, Cure, he was able to bring down Trigger. He did end up taking a loss to an opponent yesterday, a loss to Dark. Meanwhile, Classic took down Solar, took a loss to Hero. Now they face off in a PvT, and they're both pretty terrifying players in their own right. They're both some of the best that Korea has to offer when it comes to Protoss and Terran, respectively. And I'm here for it. I am ready for it. And if you're in the chat, predictions are open. Place your bets on who you think will take the series, who you think comes out on top. Best of luck. As spawning in the top right hand corner, we have for Twisted Minds, it is Classic. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have representing Team Liquid, it's their new pickup, it is Cure. As we settle into this game, a big shout out to the sponsors. A shout out to Doyu, Honkai Star, Taido, Orderful, and Pipio. Big shout out to our lovely sponsors here. Without them, this event would not be possible, would not be here. We would not have WTL or Kung Fu Cup or Master Coliseum as well funded as they are. So big shout out to our lovely sponsors. They do support StarCraft over in China. From here, though, we are going to be settling into our PvT, and this is going to be a really interesting one. For a long time, Cure was known for his TVP prowess. Has a terrifying Terran versus Protoss matchup. Had the best TVP in the world for quite some time as well. Meanwhile, Classic is a titan in his own right. He is terrifying. He's very aggressive, very similar to Hero. They don't Classic and Hero don't necessarily share builds whatsoever, but they have a similar outlook, a similar kind of play style in the sense that they're just hyper aggressive and very in your face. We'll see who comes out on top. As a reminder, best of 3, not a best of 5, bit of a shorter series between these two. But I'm hoping we can go the distance. I am hoping. Thanks Anime Waifus for sponsoring this event. Oh, ooh, papi. Ooh. I don't know what Anime Waifus say other than that. That's all I got. That's aye. Oh. But we are going to be settling in. Again, for now, it's going to be a double gas opener. Interesting. Double gas opener at a Cure, so something far more aggressive. Now, if you've been watching Cure recently, you would know that just like Clem, Cure has also been embracing the new Cyclone, mainly in TvT, but he has sprinkled it into TvP as well. I'm curious if that's going to be the case here with something like a Cyclone drop in this matchup. Can be very devastating. Speaking of, there it is. It is going to be a Cyclone first from Cure into a delayed CC on the low ground. Meanwhile, Classic's opener, ooh, I assumed it was going to be a Twilight Council, but no, it's going to be a Stargate opener from Classic. Let's go. Let us go. Is there any Protoss player that comes to mind as a super standard macro player like Innovation was for Terran? Showtime. Showtime for the foreign scene and Creator for the Korean scene. I would say that both Showtime and Creator, depending on the matchup, but for the most part, they're a lot more macro-oriented, if that makes sense. They're less aggressive, less in your face. They look for more standard games, but here we go. The Double Reaper does slip into the main. Oh! So you get a couple of probes. 2 probes do go down to the main base. Pretty good pickoffs, and both Reapers will escape. I spoke too soon! The Adept does cut them off. Good movement here at a Classic as he shuts down one of those Reapers. Meanwhile, though, Cure did get a full scout. He was able to confirm the Stargate. He saw the Phoenix in production. He is aware. We can see that Classic is going to be going for a Stargate into Robo, looking like Phoenix Colossus. A very standard kind of playstyle here in TVP. And this makes sense specifically on Alcyone. We spoke about this map before, but as we're doubling down on Cyclone production just to be safe, just to defend against the Phoenixes. But we've spoken about Alcyone before. This is a very macro-oriented map. If we're going to see a standard game between these two players, it is going to be here on Alcyone. Third CC is on the way. I believe Classic didn't see it. I don't think he got close enough, but that is a very fast third CC from Cure. That's a third CC before the second and before the third racks as well. So, yeah, Cure being quite greedy behind this, rushing into a third base. Meanwhile, Classic getting into Colossus. If you're curious about what like standard PvT is, this is what Classic is playing. Like, Phoenix into Colossus is just very by the book and has been the meta for a number of years at this point. I would say, how many years? Like 2020 since? Like it's been a while. It's been the tried and true for a number of years. And yeah, Classic gonna be playing quite normal here in game 1. Again, he's getting his third base up and running. We have a safety immortal. Again, the purpose of this immortal is just to make sure you don't die. Like, in case Cure moves out, you don't want to be caught with no army. And we are lacking units at the moment here for Classic, as we are taking up very heavily. Even more so, not just rushing into Colossus. Before we even start the Colossus, we have a Forge and a Twilight Council. Classic is being very greedy. Like, we're cutting a lot of corners. Like, again, Classic doesn't really have much of a standing army. Cure is pushing out. Classic with a shield battery should be okay, assuming he has a shield battery ready. That's the thing I'm a little bit worried about. Oh, no shield battery here on the high ground. This is going to be confirmed by the Reaper, and Curie's coming in. Curie's diving up the ramp. Good lock-ons here with the Cyclones, and Classic, he's in a lot of trouble. Phoenix goes down, the Immortal, it does lose its shields. Do manage to bring down one of those Cyclones, but alas, we zone the armor away. The Colossus comes out just in time. The Colossus has arrived, and we will spot this away. You can see how the momentum swings from one player to another with just one unit. And the Colossus will clean this up. Oh, we do pick off one more Stalker. One more Stalker goes down, but Classic will hold. Again, if it wasn't for that timing, if this Colossus were even a couple of seconds late, Classic would have died. Like, we would have broken the Immortal, broken the Stalker, and then we would have camped the production, would have camped that Robo. That was very close. that was a clutch hold out of Classic. Does hold on though, does make it out. Behind this, charge is on the way, +1, extend thermal lance. Classic is getting away with all that tech that we spoke about earlier. He is getting away with it. Meanwhile, second Colossus has arrived, and we are hitting critical mass. Once we get up to 3 Colossi, a Bio Army isn't really going to be able to touch this. Not without support. Speaking of support, Cure, he's transitioning into Viking production. That's a second starport on the way, so Cure, he's doubling down on mass Viking. This will eventually lead into Liberators, but that's still a ways away. Now, bearing in mind that, remember, Cure did take a fast third, so Cure is actually with a comparable economy to Classic, which is not something you want to see. Typically, the Protoss player wants to be up a base, and Classic still doesn't have a 4th. Classic, he needs to start working on a 4th base. Cure, he's aware of it, he's looking for it, he does come across a pylon. Ooh, depowering the Robo, oh my god. Even depowers the Robo, delays a Colossus, good pickup. Cure gonna be pulling back. Second Phoenix on the... Mate, talk about cutting corners. Yo, Classic has been hyper greedy this game. Not just when it came to taking his third and surviving the first push, we're already rushing into double Stargate, Fleet Beacon, into Skytoss. Like, again, we don't really have much to defend. We have 2 Colossi and a handful of Gateway units, but Classic is just rushing into a good force field. Catches some Marines, catches some Marauders, and he will sort this away, stifling the army well ahead of time. A good catch here by Classic. And again, I love this posturing as well. Like, Classic, he's basically puffing up his chest. He's acting like he's moving out, but he's not. Like, Classic doesn't have a Warp Prism. He doesn't really have much of an army. He cannot push in. And you can see here, Cure taking a defensive stance. Now, thankfully for Cure, because he's going double Stargate Viking, because he has so many Vikings already, this will help against the Skytoss. Like, perchance. Like, it's not intentional. The Skytoss hasn't been scouted, but against the Phoenix, against the Colossus, Cure, he will already have a hefty Viking count. +1 ship weapons on the way. We do have Ghosts as well for EMPs. So Cure, he won't have the worst army, but again, doesn't really know what's coming his way. And we do go for a scan. We see the Robo for now, the Colossi, the Phoenixes. Cure is going to be pushing on the right-hand side. Again, he's got a lot of Vikings. Zealot Rumbai comes in. Third base is exposed. Boys are being pulled. The Vikings are going ham. That's some big swipes going off. The overcharge is popped as well, keeping the Colossi alive. We get 4 SCV kills, but the Zealot Rumbai does get cleaned up. But no mining at the third base. As more of those SCVs go down. 9 SCVs. Oh my god, we're not done. Can we get 10? We can. 10 SCVs go down. Cure taking a 4th. Meanwhile, Classic amassing those carriers. And again, the carriers have still not been scouted. We still don't know. Cure doesn't know that there was a lot of pressure on Cure to push in. And Classic was quite vulnerable. But Classic, he's getting away with rushing to these carriers. And suddenly that window where Classic was vulnerable is closing. It's closing. We see the scan. And I believe we see the carriers. And with that, Classic is going to be pushing in. And we're going to run away with this. We force back the Vikings. 2, 3, 4 of them go down. Cure has to retreat. And again, Classic has gone away with murder at this point. Like I think we only have 4 carriers. We're about to have 6. And 6 carriers is insane. Ay, ay, ay. Your carriers, they are amassing. Mothership is on the way. The Mothership. I think we have 4 carriers. No, not quite 6 yet. So 4 carriers. Mothership. Immortals are on the way. Scan reveals it. And you can see that, again, Cure, he needs to be active. I do appreciate the split push. So Cure is going to be threatening the natural and threatening the 4th base at the same time. And Classic looking a little bit exposed at that natural base. So Cure is going to try and pull apart the Protoss. Again, Classic's army is very slow. It's a very slow-moving army. Not very mobile whatsoever. So I do think that Cure, like, making use of his mobility is going to be, like, the way to go, the way to approach this. As I say that, oh, we're taking the gold. And in a head-on fight, it's like I have to favor Classic here, and I don't think Cure can do anything about the gold base. I don't think he can touch it. Both players are maxing out, but one army is not quite like the other. Storm is on the way. Cure going to be pushing through the center. Now there is going to be a recall. Bear that in mind. There is going to be a recall available for Classic. There's going to be 2 recalls, one to a base, the other to the mothership. So Classic could split up his forces. I do like that he's positioned at his 3rd, in between his 5th and his natural. So he can rotate, he can respond. Spots the army of the Zonaga. Another Viking gets picked up. Viking and a medevac. Good trades here. At the same time, here comes Cure. Not quite. Does pull back. Yeah, Classic. He does rotate over. Catches wind of the army. You can see Classic. He wants a fight. He knows he can take it. He's trying to catch out Cure. Scan reveals it. Good force fields. And Marines get shaped up. Here we go. A death ball of an army is going to be pushing. Now, what do we have to defend? We need a line of turrets. We need EMPs. We need Vikings. Oh boy, this is not going to be easy for Cure. Now, these EMPs, they don't just need to connect with the army. We need to connect with the High Templar to avoid those storms. Meanwhile, here's the recall. Cure going for a massive counterattack, forces the recall. And once again, Classic wants to catch this army. But he's a little bit too late to the party here. Too late to respond. Now remember, recall is a resource, and we just used it. Now Cure is going for another counterattack. He's pushing on the right-hand side at the same time. Oh, he pulls back. Classic is committing. He is committing. He doesn't have a recall available, but Cure, he has to respect this push. Shows the storms. Oh my god, massive storms on the army, on the Vikings, on the bio. And Cure, he is melting here. He still has a pretty hefty Viking count. But they're so battered, they're so bruised. 1 carrier goes down, a 2nd carrier as well. Can we get a 3rd? Oh, not quite. The storms were brutal, and Kira's army melts. It just melted, and now the base will fall as well, and Classic is running away with this. Again, just could not engage with this. GG gets called, and Classic takes game number 1. GG. Oh my god. Yo, is Classic drinking whiskey? Was that... that was... Oh my god, Papi. Classic being classy tonight. My god. That was an interesting glass. Interesting, Papi, interesting. I mean, hey, yo, we're playing from home. May as well. May as well let loose a little bit. It did look like it. It was neat, though. It was neat. There were no rocks. There were no rocks in that glass. Ay, ay, ay. But here we go. We're getting into game 2. And again, Classic got away with so much greed that game. He cut so many corners, even with his initial... even with his initial opener. Remember, he went Phoenix Colossus. He cut Phoenix production. He only had like 3 Phoenixes at most. He cut Phoenix production, and he cut gateways. He quickly teched up into a Forge, into a Twilight Council. He had very little to defend. He got away with it. He got away with the 3rd base. He deflected the initial army just barely, and then straight away just rushed into Sky Toss. And this is something that you can't get away with on smaller maps. Alcyone, it's a large map. Very defendable on 3 on 4 bases. This is a map you can get away with this on, and Classic, he showed that to us. He proved that. GG. Kira, it took him a little bit too long to realize what was happening, and by the time he did, he could not punish it, not anymore. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have a Classic for Twisted Minds. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have Cure for Team Liquid. Here we go. But again, Classic, he got away with murder that game. And by the time Cure realized, oh my god, there are carriers, he just could not break in. Cure, he was trying to go for some split pushes. He was trying to pull apart the attention of Classic, but Classic was able to keep up with it, was barely able to respond, was forced to recall a couple of times, but again, by the time he was able to push out, Cure had to respect it. And again, just the death blow of an army was too much to handle. Cure was overwhelmed. But that's kind of a one in a best of kind of game. We're not going to be seeing that again. Like, that was very map specific. That was very much so something you can do on Alcyone. Not on Oceanborn, not on Golden Aura, not on Hardlead. I expect very different games moving forward. As for now, we do have a bit of a probe scatter across the map, going for the Gate Cyber Expand, standard opener, and a big shout out to Papi. Fala galera. Obrigado, Papi, obrigado. Big shout out to Icecar in the chat. Thank you so much for subscribing. 21 months. That's a lot of months. That's a long time, Papi. Thank you so much for the support. We appreciate it. Big shout out to Icecar. For those who are maybe unaware, Icecar is an ESL admin. He does work over at ESL, so thank you so much for all the work that you put into StarCraft. Thank you so much for allowing all these events, to all the ESL related events, to run smoothly. Thank you, Papi, thank you. Do appreciate it. And we appreciate the support as well. Big shout out to Icecar. As I am kind of Eats on the horizon, I know it's going to be a lot of work as well, so best of luck, Icecar. Best of luck. As we are going to be settling into this. You're welcome, Papi. You're welcome. We do our part, Papi. We do our part. All for StarCraft. All for StarCraft. As we do have a much more economic opener here from Cure. Oh no, my apologies. Still double gas. It was double gas from Cure, going for his factory, going to the Cyclone, into his CC on the low ground. Stalker does arrive in time to get a worker kill, but doesn't delay the CC. Meanwhile, good movement here out of Cure. Oh my god, the stutter stepping. And can we pick up the Stalker? Oh, we barely cannot. Second Stalker arrives just in time, as does the Cyclone. Bit of a trade, bit of a back and forth. Classic does come out ahead. He picks up an SCV, picks up a couple of Marines before pulling back. And meanwhile, behind this, Cure is not done. Remember last game he did try to be aggressive with Marines and Cyclones, and we have the medevac on the way, Cure going for a Cyclone drop. Meanwhile, Classic once again opening up Stargate. Stargate straight into that Robo, straight into what would be Phoenix Colossus. Now before that does occur, Classic could be rotating around, pushing in towards that natural, gets another Marine. Again, Stim isn't done, so we can afford to do this. Chris moves out of Classic. Phoenixes are on the way. Here comes that Cyclone drop. Now, thankfully for Classic, he's already pulling back. He's already racing home with those Stalkers. If he was outside the base, then he would have so little to defend. He does pull back to his natural. Phoenix does arrive. Again, we're in position at the natural, not quite in the main base, so we can get some worker kills. We can go for some probes. There we go, Cyclone straight into the mineral line. Probes are going to be going down. We get one, we get two. 3, 4 workers here. We dive on the Phoenix as well. And can we pick it off? We can. Ooh. At the cost of the medevac. And Cure is going to be losing everything here in the main. But at least he traded. And he got a full scout. He's aware of the Stargate. He got 4 worker kills and 1 Phoenix. Losing the Cyclones was brutal though. That does mean that Cure is that much weaker back at home. And saying that, there shouldn't really be too much of a counterattack. Phoenixes are moving out, that's true. But you can see here that we're cutting Phoenix production. Just like the last game. Just like last game. Classic, he actually doesn't make too many Phoenixes. He made 2 this game. Only 2 Phoenixes, straight to Immortal, straight to base, straight to third base, straight to Colossus. So again, just really greedy play here out of Classic as he loses his Phoenix. And the reason why this is greedy is that without Phoenixes, you don't have map control, which means your opponent can push, can go for drop play, and you won't know about it. You won't see it coming. So Classic is vulnerable right now. He does remake that 1 Phoenix. The Bay is done. Colossus is going to be on the way momentarily. Cure is going to be pushing, and just like the last game, right now Classic is quite vulnerable, and Cure has potential with this push. But Classic, he has a sentry on top of that ramp. He's looking for a force field. He knows that a push is imminent. He knows he's vulnerable. He knows that Cure is most likely going to move out. And Classic, he's ready for it. With as little as he has, he can take a fight with a good force field. Now Cure, he does avoid that ramp. Does rotate over. Oh, trying to fake out Classic. There we go. Forces Classic to back off. Does create an opening. Good movement so far out of Cure. Finds his way up the ramp. Force field not going to be good enough. Guardian shield is popped. We do lift one of those tanks. But big tank volleys go off. Big disable here on that Immortal. On the Immortal is Cure. Gotta be distracted though. Goes for the scan. Sees the army. Shield battery is about to finish up. And we back up. A wise move from Cure. He can't quite break that. Will have to retreat. Classic, he survives. He does survive. I appreciate that he's reinvesting into these Phoenixes. We've got a 3rd Phoenix on the way. Catching a couple of units. Just making sure that we're able to keep up with the drop play of Cure. And Classic, he's settling into his Colossi. Meanwhile, Cure building up his bio army. His 3rd base is up and running. We have Stim, Combat Shields +1, all finishing up. So a pretty nice timing is going to be available here for Cure, but because Colossi are already out, Cure can't really engage. The Ravens! Oh my god. They're so low, and he wants them, and he will barely not get them. The clutch repair. Jesus. Cure, he was so quick to repair, barely keeps them alive. Likewise, Classic doesn't lose a Phoenix. That was a very tense moment. No one loses anything, but they could have lost everything. Now, bearing in mind these Ravens, they do have disables available. They do have interference matrix. Phoenixes are looking for them. Once again, good movement out of Cure. Does pull back. They'll save that Raven. And again, some 2 good disables on those Colossi, and Cure, he can bust in. He can take a fight. Ravens do take a lot of damage. There are disables. We get 1. We get 2. Both Colossi, they are rendered. No, they can't do much of anything. 1 tank goes down. tank is sieging, but quite far behind. We have the overcharge, keeping this Colossi alive, and we avoid it. We go straight for the natural, straight for the dive. Robot's going to go down. Big pickoff. Going to be losing the tanks. This is going to be a one-way trip. As Kira, he's not happy with the natural, goes straight to the main. Dives into the main base. Probes are going down. 10, 11, 12, 8. Oh my god. 24. 24 workers fall. Good damage done here to the economy. But can we escape? Can we get out? Reinforcements are on the way. Kiri's just rallying everything across the map. Colossi going hand. They clean up the Marines. They clean up the Marauders. Fiora will lose his army and some of these medevacs. Again, not too many Phoenixes, so some of them may escape. But Kira, he crippled the economy. 24 worker kills. Kira, he's up 20 workers. Rebuilding his army, and Classic, he's not counterattacking. He lost his robo. No more Colossi. Kira, he's in a really good position. He's in an amazing position. He crippled the production, the economy. Forcing an all-in that's not going to work. Classic knows it. He can't commit. Classic is stuck at home. Stuck at home, just rebuilding. And Kira, he's running away with this. Again, it was a very adventurous dive from Kira, and it was worth it. It was worth it in the end. He's not done. Mind Drill coming in. Classic should be able to react. It does pull away in time. Does manage to pull away. Now, the purpose of that Mind Drop wasn't to deal damage, it was to scout. The medevac got a full scout of the main base. We confirmed that there was no fleet beacon, there's no Skytoss transition. Did confirm the gateways. And Kira is going to be comfortable pushing in. Now, this time he doesn't have any Ravens. The Raven count was reset, so no more Disables. He does have Vikings. And does have a lot of Marauders. He's got Ghost for EMPs. Kira, he is up 40 supply. 50 supply even. And depending on the angle of attack, he could break Classic here and now. Going for a Doom Drop instead. Oh my god. Okay. Fair enough. Going for a Doom Drop into the main base. Some of the army has been spotted. It does confirm the location of Classic, which means we can go into the main unhindered, unscouted. Massive drop. Probe's going to be going down. We can focus down the base itself. The next is going to fall. And from here, we can just get the hell out of here. We can just pick up and leave. Oh my god, we're going for the pylons, going for the production. We depower, we deny Link, and +2. Viking going ham. Good Storm. Storm is going to turn this back. Kira will be losing this army, but he trades well here. He has more reinforcements on the way, crashing into the third base, forcing the overcharge. We get into another mineral line. And more probes are going down. 7 more workers fall. And can we get the Colossus? Not quite. Oh my god. As we lose a lot of Marines here in the retreats. Classic has a decent army, but again, it's his economy, it's his production. He just lost his main. He lost a lot of his pylons. A lot of his units, or a lot of his production was depowered. Here, he's just pulling Classic apart. He's just pulling him apart at this point. And how do we come back if we are Classic? I would say Storms are a way to come back. He does have Storm available. If he's able to land like some perfect Storms, a perfect engagement, he can maybe take a fight. Likewise, Disruptors will be another way to come back into this as well. Novas are the great equalizers, and 1 or 2 good Nova can swing a fight in favor of Classic. The problem is he needs to win one big fight and then counterattack immediately. We'll see if he can. Here he comes in with his army, does avoid most of the Storm, will base out 2 of them, does go for the EMP. That's it, no more Storms are available, not with the main army. Still one put, oh, from behind! Storm from behind as well. Classic doing the best he can here. He will lose his ground army though. The Stalkers go down, the Zealots as well. The Colossi, they barely stand strong. Classic does take a fight, but he traded. He traded out an army. He doesn't have detection. Oh god. Widowmines are about to reset. Kira can remax, Classic can't. That's why I said that Classic needs to win a fight and then counterattack, but just doesn't have enough to counterattack. Doesn't have enough left over. It's a very good fight, but was not enough to bring Classic back into this. We catch a couple units. We catch a ghost. Very nice pickups. At the same time, Mind Jump coming into the natural. Forcing Classic back. Oh god. Mind Jump into the main, but there's nothing to kill in the main base. Stalkers are in position. The Mind Jump going to be delayed for now. But Kira's about to max out, so you get a bit of a Zealot drop into the natural, but there's only a single Zealot that will be dealt with. Here we go. Now Kira, he can push. Now, Kira's army is split, so he doesn't have the most terrifying main force. Big Mind Jump though. 5 probes go down. You can see Kira trying to pull apart his opponent. Big EMP here on the High Templar. Immortal gets picked up. Classic, he's just trying to survive. Trying to hold on. He's got a couple of storms in the chamber. Another Doom Drop into the main. Now, thankfully for Classic, there's actually not much to kill in the main base. There's not much left there. But again, the idea is to just pull apart the army, the supply of Classic, then take a better fight. Here we go, drop into the main base. Yeah, we're going for the forge, going for the upgrades. Classic is getting ready for the main push. We have a storm. Oh, massive storm. Good feedbacks as well. Classic forcing this back. Okay, Classic, he's been down like 50 plus supply for like the past 5 minutes. But he's been fighting well. Unfortunately, he can't keep up with the drop play and he will lose everything in the main. Everything gets depowered. Templar Archives go down. No more High Templar, no more storms. We can't replace them. 2 High Templar in position. Shows EMP. EMP 1 second too late. Classic holding on surprisingly well here. It's impressive. But gateways are falling. The Colossus, it overextends! No! Colossus finally goes down. Overextension from Classic, and now we're going for a big counterattack. But this is what Kira wanted. He wanted to fight out in the open. GG gets called, and Kira will tie up the series 1-1. GG, well played. Getting Kira, he was able to pull apart Classic, and the game-winning move, of course, was the push out with those Ravens, the disables on the Colossi, that dive into the natural, then into the main base. We killed over 20 workers with that dive. We depowered so much in the main, and from that moment, Kira was in the driver's seat. Kira was ahead. Kira was winning. And Classic, he just had to try to bring himself back in, and there were some really good fights. Like, imagine if Classic was in that game with a comparable economy, then I mean, maybe Classic wins, but he was just so far behind at that point, it didn't even matter. Didn't matter how well Classic was fighting. It was just too much to overcome. And with that, we're going to the ace match. Going all the way to game number 3. And game 3, going to be on Solaris. Let's go. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Solaris, we have our Korean Protoss player for Twisted Minds, Classic. And in the bottom left, we have his opponent. We have for Team Liquid, Kyor. go. So we are going to be getting ready for the ace match. It all ends here. It all ends on Solaris. Going to be an interesting one. So Solaris has a lot of bases. Hello, Mr. SCV. Has been going the long way around. We'll see where this SCV takes us here. We have a Rax back at home. I'm feeling either an eBay block or a bunker behind the mineral line. Classic is scouting though, and he does come across the SCV. Very big scouts. A beautiful scout here from Classic. He will make sure that the eBay is not going to finish, or it will not delay the expansion. There we go. The boys are already being pulled. The eBay has been thrown down, but again, there's barely any progression on this eBay. Really good scouting, really good positioning out of Classic, and he will force a cancel. Again, it has become more commonplace in current era of StarCraft to go for these eBay blocks in this matchup, and Protoss players have been getting better and better at scouting and getting on top of this. We force a cancel, and we expand. So good start here by Classic. Cure unable to really disrupt the opener. And now Cure's in a kind of a rough position. So when you go for an eBay block, you delay your expansion. It is a single gas opener, yes, but you go for a factory to go into Hellions and Cyclones to try to take advantage of your opponent. So it's a very aggressive opener out of Cure. It means that his CC is late. Cure's CC is going to be delayed. But talking about the map, again, Solaris has a lot of bases to take, that is true. But at the same time, it's quite wide, it's quite long. So bases can be difficult to defend, especially on fringe locations because they are so spread apart. So things can get very chaotic as the game progresses. Likewise, we do have a lot of choke points, we have a lot of speed zones to take advantage of as well. Because of all these choke points, it can be hard being the aggressor. It can be difficult like breaking into these defensive bases and these defensive siege lines for both players. So we'll see how this goes. As Classic mixes it up, we have a Twilight Council. Let's go. Twilight Council opener, it's going to be Blink Stalkers. Meanwhile, Adept is going to get caught out. We do manage to barely save the Hellion. Oh, what a bus! Hellion survives. Adept does get picked off. Nicely done there by Cure. Behind this, getting into the 1-1-1. Again, the CC was delayed. It's still on the way. Classic's goal here is to delay that command center even further. As he dips in and he wants that SCV. Oh. And he will not get it. He does delay the base by a couple of seconds, but not quite worth it in the end. We'll pull back. Now behind this, 3 gateways. We have Blink, we have 3 gates on the way, so quite an aggressive opener from Classic. We'll see if he throws down a 4th gateway to double down. For now, 3-gate Blink. Now with 3-gate Blink, you do have enough Stalkers to take map control and to contain your opponent. Typically you don't dive, but if your opponent's being too greedy, then you can Blink into the main. You have the option to. This is not overly aggressive though, like we should be taking a relatively faster 3rd base here for a Classic. I say relatively fast. We'll see how many warp-ins we go for. See how many warp-ins as the Marine drop goes into the main base. Going for the pylon. Uh-oh. At the same time, Hellion dives into the natural. We get eyes on the gateways. Big scout here by Cure. He does confirm the Twilight Council. He confirms the 3 gates as well. Which means he knows he needs tanks. And there it is, immediately Bunker. Bunker is on the way in the production tab. He is aware of the threat of those mass Blink Stalkers. And there it is, tank production has commenced. Curie should also be aware that it's not 4-gate Blink Stalkers, so he doesn't have to be overly defensive. Just has to respect the army. Looks Viking getting ready for harass. Marine drop as well. Solaris would be a great Archon team name for Solar and Colaris. I mean, you're not wrong. Not wrong. As here we go. We have the Viking landing here. In the natural, we do take down the Stalker. Remember, Vikings, they do actually trade well against Stalkers. To get 1, 4 probes go down. And Classic, as he was getting ready to push out, he's stuck at home here, losing 5 workers. Cure. He slips in. He trades very well here. Gets another Stalker. Start stepping out of Cure. Will be cleaned up. That is 6 probe kills and 2 stalkers as well. Did delay the push. Finally, Classic is going to be moving out, but Cure has plenty of time to respond. We have a bunker on the low ground. We have a tank on the high ground. Marines are being split. Raven harass coming in. Cure just doesn't slow down. Meanwhile, Classic, he has delayed his third. His third is later than normal. He is going for another big warp in. Classic, he wants to make up for his losses. We'll see if he can. Second bunker's on the way. Trying to bait out that tank shot. We dive in. We get a master round of the tank. It barely survives. Oh my god! The tank doesn't die! No shot. If the repairs are too good, the tank survives. The bunker as well. 1 bunker falls, but that was a beautiful trade for Cure. That should not have happened. The tank refusing to go down. Classic rotating over towards the main. Auto-touch harassing the main base of the opponent though. Cyclone goes down, but we have a tank in position. Massive tank volleys go off. We're bleeding out too much. Too many stalkers going down. Classic falling further and further behind. The Classic still hasn't expanded. Still no expansion here from Classic. More tank volleys going off as well. The Prism goes down. No reinforcements. We go for the dive. Ooh, the mine. The mine forces friendly fire, but GG gets called, and Cure will take the series 2-1. Will shut down Classic. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. Again, Cure achieving so much damage with this drop. The Marine drop and the Viking harass got far too much done, and after they had killed 6 workers and 2 stalkers, Classic basically went all in. He went all in, but Cure, he scattered everything with his aggression earlier. He was so prepared for it, so clutch with the repair. The repair on that tank was the MVP. It survived. It survived, what, like 3 or 4 volleys? It was crazy, just tanked so many shots from those stalkers. It was insane. And with that, Cure does take it in the end. It does take the series. GG. GG, well played. With that, we are going to be going on a short break. Going to be going on a short break here in a couple of minutes. We're going to return with another TVP with Bjorn versus Trigger. We'll see you guys soon.